Yes,
Yes.
I hesitate to tell that story because I'm sure she didn't want it known.
Well,
And
now that she's been gone for so long, I think we'd like to
well,
know how brave she was.
it was after she was married, and she had gone back to visit relatives in southern Illinois around Benton. And I gathered from what I have heard, this fellow made some inappropriate approachments, and
And propositions.
probably, and I don't know where it was. It seems like they might have been in a buggy, or he might have been taking her from one place to another. Anyway, I know that she shot him, and I know there was a court thing, because my sister and Lida, whose mother and my mother were first cousins, they decided they'd like to go and hunt up the records in the courthouse. And I said, no, that's grandmother's secret. She didn't want it known. And I didn't think we should go and find out the details of it. I don't know whether they ever did or not, but I don't know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I have heard some of the older people down there allude to it.
I see. I'm sure. I'm sure it was in the papers.
Well, my grandmother was, as a young woman, they said she was extremely beautiful young woman. And by that time, she was quite well-to-do. And I guess, I don't know.
But the McPhees were pretty much well-to-do people, eventually, weren't they? Even
Yes.
though they didn't have much to begin
They
with.
didn't have anything to start with. But my grandfather was mayor of Venice, I think, for 9 years. And then when my mother was 12 years old, he was a state representative and spent time in Springfield, because he took her up one time and she sat in the governor's chair and came back. She went to St. Mark's School in Venice, and one of the sisters was very much interested in politics and things of the day, and she had her telling the whole class about her stay in Springfield, and it was one of the highlights in her life.
Is that the time when the interurban would have been or did they have to go by buggy?
Oh, I think they went horse and buggy.
They did. That'd be a long trip in the horse and buggy.
Oh, yes, yes.
It certainly would be.
Yeah.
And then eventually, through a number of circumstances, McPhees lost their money.
Yes, my grandfather was in his 50s when he died. He had gout. And he had made many loans, and usually they were done on the shake of the hand. And I understand he got the money to build their home one day in St. Louis on the stock market. He won $700, or made $700. And that was the main part of building their home. But it must have been mortgaged, because I understand the Cole family still around at the Tri-Cities, held a mortgage on it at the bank. And my mother always blamed politics. But he died, the family then became destitute. You know.
And that's when grandmother decided that she'd give piano lessons.
Yes, my mother had music from the time she was a little girl. In fact, her professor wanted her to be a concert pianist and was hoping the family would send her to Germany to study. He was German. And the folks decided she was too young. She was only 14. But she was about 16 when her father died. And she had a class of private students, about 30, I think. And then she went to work up at Rosenberg's.
Oh, she worked. Oh, that's right. You said she worked.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's one more little story going way back before he met Sally. And you called him Plummer McPhee, didn't you?
Yes, his name was Thomas Plummer, but
yes, they call
he
him
was
Plummer.
always called Plummer.
But now, he came from Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And during the Civil War, he was 12. And, of course, Pennsylvania being a Union state, he was, of course, for the Union.
Oh, definitely.
But tell us a little bit about the soldiers that came and requested some things of him when he was 12 years old.
Well, they came through that part of the country, and they were short on horses. And they were confiscating